We're now going to look at some examples. So the first thing I want to say is this course has a strong emphasis on you learning by doing. You're not going to learn by listening to me. The techniques are fairly simple. They just require a bit of practice from your part. They might seem difficult in the beginning, but I promise you with practice, you will be able to master this technique fairly quickly with just a little bit of practice on your part. So when I go over these examples, I'm going to give you a story and I want you to try to figure out what chord sequence I'm trying to memorize before I give you the answer. That way you get the most out of the three examples I'm going to give you. So without further ado, let's begin. I want you to close your eyes and picture the following. Picture a bomb, a huge massive bomb. You can imagine one of those bombs you've seen in a cartoon. This bomb is drinking something. It's drinking a person, in fact. It's drinking Arnold Schwarzenegger. And as he's drinking Arnold Schwarzenegger, Arnold is slowly liquefying. You will hear the bomb slurping and Arnold screaming as he's slowly being drank up by this bomb. Once the bomb is finished, it jumps off the edge of a cliff and flies off into the sky. Have any idea what chord sequence I was memorizing there? I'll give you just a second to think about it. Got it? Okay, let's see if you were close. So the first thing I visualized was a bomb. Okay, so this would be a B minor chord. The reason for this is because the word bomb contains B and M, B minor, bomb. Then this bomb is performing an action, it's drinking something. Here's where the paradoxical element comes in. It's drinking, not only is it strange that a bomb is an object, a bomb in this case is drinking something, it's drinking a person, so it's drinking Arnold Schwarzenegger in this case. You can imagine almost Arnold as Conan the Barbarian, dressed up as Conan or something like this to make it even more memorable. And I added into the story that Arnold is screaming. You can probably imagine what it sounds like when Arnold is screaming. This all adds to vividness to the story, which means you will more likely to remember it. And then finally, the bomb jumps off the edge of a cliff. Okay, so it drank something, that's a D. And then the person it's drinking is Arnold, so that's an A. And finally, it jumps off of the edge of a cliff. In this case, I'm thinking of an E chord. So the chord sequence in this case would be B minor, D, A, and E. Example 2. So let's do another story. I want you to close your eyes once again and picture the following. I want you to picture a giant arm sitting at a dinner table. It's just a huge arm, a very muscly arm. You can imagine the arm having tattoos, perhaps. This arm is holding something, so there's tiny little arms coming out of the big arm. And these tiny arms are holding drumsticks, so the arm is drumming on the table. On the table, there's food. There's all these plates of food. And as the arm is drumming very aggressively. It's breaking the plates of food. There's food splashing everywhere. You can imagine if you would stand in front of this arm drumming, you would have food splattered onto your clothes and your face. Eventually, the door behind the arm gets kicked in and in comes Amy Winehouse. She holds a shotgun, she shoots the arm, and the arm falls over dead. So, could you guess what chord sequence I was thinking of? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Got it? Let's see if you got it right. So the first thing I was thinking of was an arm. So in this case, the arm I associated with the chord A minor because the word arm contains the letters A and M. So an arm, it's performing an action, it's drumming. So in this case, the word drumming contains the letters D and M. So in this case, it would be D minor. Then it's drumming on something, in this case, food, plates of food. So that would correspond to the chord F. Finally, Amy Winehouse comes in and shoots the arm. And in the case of Amy Winehouse, I'm actually thinking once again of A minor, since Amy contains the letters A and M. So you might be thinking, why am I not reusing arm again in this scenario? The reason for this, and you will see this quite often in music, is that chord sequences, also I should say chords, repeat in a chord sequence. It's quite often that this happens, and it would be quite confusing to have multiple arms in your story, because then you would have to think, when did the arm do this action and when did that happen, and so on and so on. Imagine if you're having a long chord sequence and you have 4 A minor chords, that would include 4 arms, and it's quite easy to mix up these 4 arms because you're not going to really remember perhaps exactly when did arm number 1 do action number 1, or arm number 2 do action number 2. It might get confused and mixed up. So it's very important that when you have the same chord repeating in a sequence, that you don't reuse what you used previously. You need to use something new that's distinctly different, but you still can associate with that same chord. So that's why it deliberately shows a chord sequence with the chord appearing twice, just so you are aware of this. This is a very important point. So as you will see in music, this happens quite often. So yep, just to recap, the chord sequence in this case was A minor, D minor, F, and A minor again. Example number 3. So this is going to be the final example, and in this example I am going to include a sharp or a flat chord. As you may have noticed, I haven't incorporated any sharp or flat chords yet. So let's see if you can figure out when I'm using a flat or sharp chord in the following story. So once again, I want you to close your eyes and picture a banana. The banana is standing around, is looking at something, turning increasingly angrier and angrier. And as he gets angrier, he turns red. The banana is now bright red. What he's looking at is Gandhi. Gandhi is completely naked, playing golf. And not only is he playing golf, he's playing golf on top of Alan Rickman's giant head. Right. Now, can you figure out what chord sequence I was trying to remember there? I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, so the first one is probably pretty obvious by now. It's banana would be a B. It's not a B minor because the word banana doesn't contain an M, so just a regular B chord. And the banana is getting angry. You can see that visually as the banana is turning red. Then he's looking at Gandhi, and Gandhi, as you can imagine, is a G chord, but Gandhi's doing something, and here's where I introduce the first flat chord. So he's holding a golf club, he's playing golf, and a golf club, if you look at it, kind of looks like the symbol for a flat chord. So that's why I picture Gandhi playing golf. So when I see that, I know Gandhi stands for G, and the fact that he's holding a golf club stands for flat. So G flat chord. And then finally, he's playing on top of Alan Rickman's head. So this is me associating Alan Rickman with the chord A. So once again, I'm using something completely different from the A chord I used previously here, as I explained in the previous example. So instead of using the action of becoming angry, I am instead picturing Alan Rickman, which these two things are very distinct and very hard to mix up. And also, if it doesn't, it creates a natural flow in the story as the banana gets angry while he's looking at Gandhi playing golf on top of Alan Rickman's head. It's kind of hard to confuse the two. And yeah, so that's the last example I got for you. I hope this all makes sense. I do want you to continue with the exercises, and I also encourage you to do your own exercises and try to come up with either your own chord sequences or find chord sequences for songs you wish to learn, and just try it out for yourself and see if you find this technique helpful at all. As I said, you will need a little bit of practice, but I would say within just a couple of hours of practice, if you decide to do this in a day or two or spread out through over a week's time or whatever, you will see that this technique starts to get increasingly easier to use. And yeah, once you get comfortable using this technique, the sky is really the limit on how many songs you can learn, and how long chord sequences. It doesn't really matter how complex they are; they will be fairly easy to remember once you nail these techniques. So I hope you found this useful. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought. If you have any suggestions or something you want to see more of, I'm also happy to receive emails with your comments. And if you want to see more of these videos, please let me know.